Good afternoon and welcome back to Morsels and Motors. You join me again on Driveway of Dreams B up in Wales, and I'm here with PGH and I am going to do a service on it of a few items. So I'm going to do an oil change, I'm going to do a points gap check and clean up the points, and I'm going to do a timing check and adjustment on it because I think the timing's out. So let's get started. I think the first thing I'm going to do is do the points gap because I've actually just given it a drive and everything's really too hot at the minute for me to handle the oil and the timing because I obviously need to move around the distributor. So do the points first and see how we go. So PGH is a 1980 345 and the 1980 model year cars are pretty unique because they have an AC Delco distributor. Every other model year has a Ducellier, but 1980 is slightly different. So normally every other distributor has just clips, but the AC Delco ones has two screws. So I need to get some tools and get those off. Right, those are unscrewed. Off comes the distributor cap. Just inspect the inside of this distributor cap. It's actually in reasonably good condition. I can't see any scoring or anything. There's just a little bit of kind of deposits built up on the terminals. And then let's have a look. The rotor arm. Also, frankly, looks absolutely fine. Just a little bit of dirt. Clean that up. Okay, so inside the distributor here is the points. You'll see at the moment it's closed, and this lead it kind of opens and closes, and it opens and closes because of, can you see this bit underneath where the screwdriver, underneath where the rotor arm was? It's not round, it's got lobes on 4 corners of it, kind of quartic, and those lobes engage with that little piece of plastic or a block or something at the back of the lever, and so when it's against a flat surface it closes, and when it's against a raised surface it opens, and when it's open obviously it breaks the circuit, when it's closed it makes a circuit, and so that sends the spark to the correct place at the correct time. What I now need to do is rotate the engine so that the gap is at its largest, so that that little block is being engaged to its maximum on a corner of that quartic kind of column. So to do that I would like to turn the engine by hand and twist it. I don't think I have the right socket with me. I'll have a quick look in case I do. If I don't, I'm going to have to do it the old-fashioned way by putting the car in gear and dragging it forwards and backwards slightly. I've now found an adjustable spanner that just about fits on the crankshaft pulley, so I'm going to see if I can get that turned. Let's see if we can get this lined up to a lobe. Is that the maximum? I think that might be it. Let's have a look. Okay, I did a full kind of quarter rotation of the engine so that I was happy that this is now the spot at which the points is at its most open. So it's kind of, so I've rotated it enough that I can see it's got to that top point of the lobe and it's not opening any further. So I've got my feeler gauge here and I've set it two together to 0.0018 of an inch, I think, which is halfway between the minimum and maximum that is allowable. So let's put that in there, two together, and see where we're at. I'm putting that in to the gap. It's not having to force, it's not forcing the arm out at all, and there's a bit of drag. I mean, I'd say it might just be the teeny weeniest bit tight, but I think we're okay. Okay, that's good, I think. I've done it a few more times off camera. I'm happy with that. The gap is fine, so that is good news. I don't need to make any adjustments. What I do, however, need to do is, if you can see just inside there where the contact is that makes contact on both sides, it's a little bit kind of oxidized, a little bit of white on it, so I might just clean that up with a little bit of sandpaper or something. So I've just folded over my sandpaper, so I'm actually doing both sides of the contact at the same time. Okay, well hopefully you can see that is now looking an awful lot better and shinier. And it's the same on the other side too. I have now cleaned the contacts on the inside of the distributor cap, and the rotor arm's now looking a lot shinier. So I will refit those. You might ask why I'm not just replacing them, because they are service items, but really they've not been on the car for that long. This car doesn't do that many miles, so it does seem kind of uneconomical to replace them too often, particularly because they're not that easy to obtain either, so may as well get a bit more life out of them. Distributor cap and rotor arm back on. Just need to remove the spanner from the engine, otherwise really bad things will happen, and go and give the car a little start and make sure it does start now that I've fiddled around with the ignition system. Neutral. Might need a little choke actually, to be fair. Okay, phase one complete of service. Timing, I think, is what I might have a look at next. Well, quite a lot of time has passed since I recorded the last snippet of video. My timing light just wasn't working, so I just couldn't do the timing at all. So I've come back, seems to be nearly a year later, now with the right tools, so let's crack on. So hopefully you can see on that little plaque attached to the engine there, my engine is a B14.1E. If we turn to the manual, B14.1E needs to be at 6 degrees plus or minus 1 at before top dead centre. At the idle speed, which is on a different page, for a B14.1 manual is 900 plus or minus 50 RPM. So let's have a look to see what the car is. So my idle speed at the moment is around 800. It's just not quite warmed up, so I'll give it a couple of moments to warm up. I'll come back to you. Okay, we have the idle speed settling here about sort of 880, 890 roughly speaking. So, and I know 340s, and I know that's the right kind of idle for a 340, so let's get the timing gun out. Although before we get the timing gun out, let me show you what we're supposed to be looking for. These are the markings which is in this kind of cutout in the flywheel. So we should be seeing 6 degrees before top dead centre at that line there. So we should be looking at, there should be the circle on the flywheel and then a couple of marks, and it's the second mark, which is the 6, which should be lining up with that line there. Well, I don't know whether you can see, but we actually have absolutely nothing at the moment lining up, so it looks like the timing is quite a bit out. So I'm going to loosen the distributor and see if I can get some timing marks to appear. I have rotated the engine by hand, so you can now see the marks that are on the flywheel that have come up. So in fact, I might see if I've got some white paint and just put a little dot on the 6 line, and then we'll be able to see it more clearly when the engine is spinning. There you go, you can see a blob of white paint in line with that line now, so we should be able to see it a little bit more clearly when the engine is turning. Okay, I have given the distributor a bit of a rotation, and now just about see the little white marking kind of somewhere around, generally speaking, that cutout. Okay, so some of you might have spotted my deliberate rookie error, just to test you, of course. Cylinder number 1 on a Volvo 340 is in fact one on the back of the engine, not at the front on the flywheel end. So I've connected the timing light to now the correct cylinder spark plug and set it up. And my little dot is just about on the line. So it's difficult to focus, but it's about there. Well, I've taken the car for a little spin around the block, and yeah, I think I'm happy with it. It seems to be performing just as it was before. I can't hear any pinking. It seems to be a bit smoother somehow, so maybe the timing was a little bit out. I mean, I think it was quite significantly out. I'm not entirely sure which direction it was, because when I was loosening the distributor to test whether it loosened, I kind of gave it a wiggle and it went quite a long way, so I immediately had lost where it was its original setting anyway, which is a bit annoying. But anyway, I knew that it was probably not advanced enough because it was pinking, particularly under load. You know, if you're going uphill and that kind of thing. It doesn't seem to be doing that now, so it seems to be set at the right level. So I will monitor it over the next few journeys and see whether I continue to be happy with it. Next job, oil change. Right, essential tools compiled for doing an oil change on a Volvo 340. First of all, we have a cup of coffee. We have the wrench to take off the sump plug. I have the oil filter wrench, new oil filter, and inside there's also a little washer for the sump plug. Some oil. I've got 2 because one's not quite full, and I've got a bucket underneath the car. I put the car up on some blocks, just give me a little bit of clearance underneath. So let's see if I can crack that sump plug off. So Volvo 340s with the B14 engine, this is, take these kind of square sump plugs, square drive sump plugs. So we need to get this special tool, which I've had for years. It's very annoying because it's slightly angled, which means you need a lot of clearance under the car to get it straight onto the bolt or the plug, but never mind. Okay. Oh, that wasn't even tight. Do the rest by hand. No wonder there's drips of oil underneath this car if the sump isn't tight. Right, up the top here, let's first of all get the dipstick out, ready for measuring later, and the oil filler cap. Come on, Mr. Oil filler cap. Go. That's over there. No mayonnaise. That's good, isn't it? Always a good sign. And now it's time to get the oil filter off. Before I take the oil filter off, I do always like to check that I've got the right new one, and this is an oil filter for all Volvo cars from 1962, apart from the 340 B14 from 1985 onwards. This is a 340 B14 before 1985 because it's a 1980, so we're all good. So let's see if I can slot on my tool. Right, got it slotted onto the oil filter there. Give it a tighten up, really nice and tight so it clamps onto the oil filter, and then that's quite tight. Then I grab it with both hands and give it a twist. Hey, and off comes the oil filter with it. Just need to release it and move it down a little bit. But yeah, that wasn't too tight. Actually, I've dealt with significantly tighter ones in recent months, so this is quite pleasant. Yeah, there we go. I think that should be enough for me to do the rest of it by hand. Right, off it comes. Lots of lovely oil. Yeah. there we go, off the car. I'll go and pour the oil in this into my drip tray. Right, just going to leave that for a few minutes to carry on dripping to get the last bits of oil out of the engine, and then we'll start reassembly. Let's get a little bit of oil into the new oil filter. See if I can get it in without throwing it everywhere. Not too much, but just enough. And then we need to get a dab of oil on my finger and put it on the rubber seal here. Just to make a nice tight seal. I've now cleaned up the oil filter area, and let's screw the new one on. The really annoying thing about these oil filters is that they're beautifully Volvo branded, but the Volvo branding usually ends up on the side you can't actually see, which is very annoying. Oh, maybe we're low luck. No, it's going. Oil filters only need to be hand tight, so that's about as tight as I'm happy for it to be. Done. And Volvo is obviously pointing towards the ground, so buying a nice Volvo oil filter is slightly pointless. Grr. Going fast. Okay. Right, don't want to go too tight. I do not want to strip the threads in this sump at all. It's just enough to crush that washer to make a nice seal. And we will call that a day. Cool, right, let's get this engine refilled. Right, let's see if I can do this without spilling it all over the engine. If you do it sideways, so you get a nice smooth oil flow, so it doesn't glug everywhere. Top tip, see, don't say I don't ever tell you stuff. Right, let's check dipstick. Halfway between max and min, so we're actually nearly there. So let's put a couple more plugs of oil in it and call it a day for now. Right, whilst I'm waiting for that oil to settle, let's just do the worst bit of an oil change, shall I? Which is to try and get rid of the old oil into this old oil can. Okay, let's give this a final check. Oh, I think we are pretty much just under the max there. Put the teeny weeniest bit more in, and that will do. And I'll check it after I have taken it for a drive next time. Right, that is it. I've finished the service on this car. It only took a year, but there we go, it's done. I'm going to take it to the jet wash for a well-deserved clean and to put some air in the tyres, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. See you. Bye.